All right, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Sports Yak podcast. Today, we're going to be talking some footy with some England folks and Denmark folks. First up, I got Nabeel Musa. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm the Denmark guy, although from England.
Nice. And an Arsenal fan at that.
Yeah, I think that's three of us on this call, actually. Shahed, you're outnumbered.
Yeah, we haven't had much soccer talk on the podcast. I know you guys hate that word, but it's all right. We'll keep going. Next up, we got Khalid. How are you doing, man?
Yeah, not bad, man. How you doing?
You're also in London?
I mean, technically, I live in a place called Canterbury, but I still rep North London. I'm from North London.
Nice. And then we got Shahed. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, man. Happy to be here. Happy to see I add that real football knowledge to the podcast.
Yeah, the British accent adds like I think 20% to the knowledge.
There you go.
So yeah, the first question I had for you guys was actually, a lot of people might listen to the podcast. They're not into the Premier League, English Premier League, or Champions League. We'll start with you, Shahed. How did you choose which team you supported?
So I was actually born in Anfield, one of the stands. My mother gave birth. No, to be honest, when I think back to it, I'm not actually quite sure because, I was born in the 90s, 1990 to be exact, and we didn't have any success for the majority of my childhood, surrounded by Arsenal and Manchester United fans. So really, I must have been a sadist in my early teens because I chose Liverpool. And I think I sort of fell into it. I was in London, so I was in and around, the plethora of London sort of club fans, so Arsenal, Tottenham, Manchester United too. But yeah, like I said, I think maybe it was Michael Owen's FA Cup final, the 2-1 where we came back, painful for the Arsenal fans. I know, straight in there with the dagger. But yeah, I think from there I was like,
wasn't that 2001? You were like 11.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah, I was 11.
Didn't Sammy Hippier save it on the line with his hand?
We didn't care about that back then.
Yeah. So I think that was what it was, and I think we had no Premier League success, but we had sprinklings of cup success, which kept us going, and kept my morale up when I was getting abused about the last time we won the Premier League. But yeah, that's sort of my backstory.
Yeah, because they were the team of the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even think that normally, if outside of the podcast, I'd say, yeah, my dad supports Liverpool and that's why I support them too. But really, that's complete garbage. I think it literally was Michael Owen in that FA Cup final. And then I was like, okay, yeah, we'll go with these guys. I thought success would follow that, but nothing for a number of years. Ooh. Almost 1-0.
Well, it's worth noting that Shahed wasn't strong enough to turn his brother to a Liverpool fan. His brother is a Chelsea fan. His little brother.
Chelsea.
Oh,
yeah, it's absolute shambles.
That's
tries to say
money.
I think that's something unique about England is that people in the same family are fans of different sport. Like usually, like people are fans of the city where they're from, because in America, like there's only one team usually per city, so the people that are from that city support that team. But like even my cousin, he's an Arsenal fan. His brother's a Chelsea fan. Like rivals. Like you don't often see that.
And in the States, sort of the city team, are they always on TV? So, is it? I think that's that's the issues with England, where if your local team is probably in the Conference League and there's no sort of visibility over them, for example, and so you gravitate towards the bigger names or the closer bigger names. How is it in the States?
Yeah, they always show the local basketball team or American football team. So they always show, like I'm in Florida, so they're always showing Florida teams. So it's like you don't have to pay any extra money to watch those teams. Basically, they're always on your free local channels. But Khalid, how did you become a Arsenal fan?
So my older brother's a fan, and he's only a fan because Charlie Charalambous, some guy in his primary school, had an Arsenal kit. So then my brother became an Arsenal fan, and then I think he went on some school trip and he asked me to record a game for him. And then when I was recording it, I watched it. It was Arsenal Aston Villa in the Coca-Cola Cup. And Dennis Bergkamp scored 2 goals. And I was like, God, this is amazing. We drew 2-2, but Dwight York scored 2 goals. But still, I think it was the first time I properly watched them. And I was just mesmerized. And I think that was it. Like, I was Arsenal fan for life.
You know,
Dennis
you
Bergkamp,
mentioned about
my
the kits.
favourite of all time.
I think the kits is a big part of it as a child. I remember looking at kits, even the sticker books. I don't know if I had them in the States, the Premier League sticker books, and you used to get the shiny badge. I was like, oh, that Manchester United badge looks nice. Should I support them? Or maybe not. But I think, you forget as a kid. I remember seeing my first Liverpool jersey and how cool I thought it was. I was like, oh, I really want one of those. But yeah, I just thought I'd mention that.
I think in one of the seasons they even had like a specific sticker for the kit.
Yeah,
It was like half.
they
It was the
did.
half sticker.
I think you didn't like the Sunderland badge.
Oh yeah, that's fast.
Thing is, it's so absolute, right? Like I just made this decision. Like I watched them once, and I'm like, man, I love this team now. To the point where my best friend in primary school was a United fan, but I just had made this arbitrary decision, like maybe a couple months before that, and then now I'm just set for life. Like there's just no changing it forever. It's weird, isn't it?
It's all
Funny thing
true.
is, yeah, go ahead, Nabeel.
No, I was gonna say it's all true. Like there's not always a specific reason. You sort of just end up there as well sometimes. You have no clue exactly why.
And you were on the same time, I'm assuming, Bergkamp and Ian Wright.
I've probably got the
Ian
most
Wright, man.
controversial coming to
You
support
switched?
football team. Technically, I switched, but I would say that I hadn't come of age, to make a mindful decision. But all of my family, like on my mom's side and most of my dad's side, support Man United. It's like when I was really young, I feel like I used to support Man United.
Whoa,
and I used to watch
revelation.
football as well. This is like a world exclusive.
Breaking news.
Yeah, so I feel like I started like when I was like super young. I'm talking like 5 or something, like supporting Man United. But then like as I got older, like into primary school, I was like, hold a second, I'm just following the crowd. And then like I just became like, I just started following Arsenal. I don't even know what the reason was. And I started to feel like a lot more affinity with Arsenal than any other club. And I think it had to do with the players and like, I don't know, like the brand of football. Like it just felt like a classy club. And I was in London, of course, as well. So it felt weird to support Man United, in spite of everyone else around me supporting Man United. But yeah, then I just ended up there. And then we hit the golden period, and then it never looked back.
The funny thing is that in like Premier League and most European soccer leagues, like the top 4 teams are usually the 4 best teams every single year. Like NBA, NFL, it's not like that. Like Tampa Bay just won last year for the NFL, and they haven't won for like 16 years or 17 years. And there's no guarantee that, they'll be one of the top teams keep going like in the future. So like for your guys, I feel like it's more consistent.
They have like a system, right? They have a system to kind of level the playing field each year, right? Whereas
the draft.
in the Premier League, the more successful you are, the more money you have, the easier it is to get further away from everyone else. Like,
yeah.
But Yusuf, how did you end up being an Arsenal fan?
That's true.
Yeah, I think it was my cousin. I think it was like 2005, 2006. I went to London and we played FIFA, and like Arsenal was like one of the best teams. And I think they were coming off Champions League final run that season as well. So I just kind of gravitated towards them. But I really didn't start watching like regularly till like probably 2013 or 14. So I haven't really experienced the good years of Arsenal that well.
Yeah, you literally joined like at the beginning of our downfall.
Well, no, he conveniently started supporting them when everything went wrong, and then stopped, and then started again when we started winning trophies again.
It's all right. I'm here for the long run. So if Shahed can wait like 25 years for a Premier League title, I can wait.
Man United fans are going to experience that in the extreme. I don't think Man United will win another title for. Whilst Klopp and Guardiola are managers, I don't think United are winning a title. I think that's how I see it, regardless of how good their squad gets. I think in this day and age, the elite managers add an ineffable amount which can't be bridged by money if they have a good squad, And Tuchel, I'm not sure about Tuchel yet. He's good, but that's my view anyway. I'm sure we'll discuss that later on.
Yeah, managers are a huge part that like they're like basically like combination of the players and the as you said, like the logo of like whether you like the team or not. So like Arsene Wenger, people thought Arsenal was named after him, even though like he joined in the 90s, obviously, like in America and stuff like that. I'm sure like people thought that as well over there too, just because he was the he was the face of the team basically.
But aren't we getting to a period of time when it's like the manager isn't the most influential person in the organization? It's like the systems and processes and people and owners, and they have a lot more
I don't
influence
know,
over.
man.
I don't know. I feel like your owner makes a much bigger difference than your manager at the top clubs these days. Like if I take what Shahed says, like if the manager makes little difference, then who is making the difference? And then you can start to compare like Kroenke versus FSG and see that FSG runs Liverpool in a much more efficient and more strategic way than Kroenke does.
I guess they seem to work in harmony with
You're on mute.
Klopp, with that Klopp and what they're trying to do, right? Like,
yeah, but it's like they've come with a plan of how they want to implement something at the club. You need to compare that to Arsenal, and it's like, what the hell is the plan? Like, it's like we've got a new plan this year, but they've owned the club for like more than 10 years. It's like, hold on a second, what's going on in the club?
I guess for a long time they didn't need to have a plan, right? They had asked them just, you go and do what you want to do, and now they have to try and figure it out themselves. That's why we've got this transition period. But Shahed, when you talk to us about Liverpool, and like, why is it like they haven't got billions and billions, not pumping money in, right? But how is it they're still essentially arguably the best team in the country?
I mean, I think it comes down to it's a number of factors. If you're looking at the very short term, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer joined, for example, there's a graphic which says United spent the most, 350 million, Arsenal second, 280 million, and Liverpool are bottom with a negative net spend of 2 million, right? And how long Ole been in the job? 3 years. So, you can say, Liverpool are at a different stage and whatnot in terms of developing their team and investment made. But ultimately, there's never been the model to outspend at Liverpool. It's historically been a sell to buy club, which was predominantly funded by the Coutinho sale several years ago. But look how easily money is wasted. You don't have the luxury of getting it wrong. And that's just been down to excellent recruitment. Michael Edwards has been fantastic in his role, and has been, I think he's may leave, which could have a big ramifications on the club. He may be going to Real Madrid. But I think, recruitment still is by far and away one of the most important factors of, underpinning success at a club. Look at the people we bought, our models are looking at, players who have been relegated, for example, Wijnaldum, Newcastle, Robertson at Hull, and molding these players. We probably have a profile, all the data sciences going on behind the scenes at these top clubs. It's bearing fruit at Liverpool. Because, inside the fan base, there's still a lot of criticism leveled at FSG about their lack of overt spending, not just spending their own money. Still, Liverpool are generating their own money, as I said, through sales. And again, it comes down to excellent execution of that fund. And then obviously, being able to attract and retain the best through our manager, Jurgen Klopp. The results go without saying. It's all ineffable how good he is and why he's so good. He's just one of the greats. Like, there's very few of them out there, and that's why I think some of the top clubs will struggle, because there are fewer managers than there are big clubs, and that's what some of the look at some of the giants across Europe. They're struggling even with investment because they just don't have someone at the mantle to really push them on. So yeah, it's a combination. I think as I said, manager, yes, and an excellent execution in the transfer market, something of which hasn't gone brilliantly for Arsenal, I would say.
I was going to say that they just beat United 5-0. And as much as we clown on United and their players, I feel like the talent level between the teams is not that much different. Like, there's no way that United should be losing 5-0, but it's down to the manager.
You could argue that United that squad is more talented than Liverpool on an individual basis. I'd say Van Dijk, Salah, probably the best in their positions. But you could just reel off the luxury in that team. It boggles the mind why Sancho's on the bench. Again, that's another story. But yeah, Man United, you could talk about for days. It's an archetypal example of bad management. It still boggles the mind how this guy's in the job. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why he's not being fired. I mean, yeah, I think we need we've got an expert in London called Leon, who's an expert on the Man United subject. We'll bring him on the next show. I don't want to talk too much about United.
Maybe it's the point that they make that like there just aren't that many, top managers out there, right? Like, I guess Pochettino was available for a long time, but then Ole went on a run, and like, I mean, he came second. Did they come second last season?
Yeah.
It was second last year.
Yeah,
and people are talking about like Potter, like United, like the level of the club that they are, they're never gonna hire somebody like Graham Potter.
No, they have to go.
But
They'll
then-
go for
Yeah,
head
but
coach.
let's
got
talk about
Oli.
Solskjaer. Solskjaer's not got caliber. Like he came from Mold, like in Norway. Like that's ridiculous. And straight
But
into a
he-
top job at Man U just because of his connection to the club. I
I
don't
mean,
think
we've literally got Mikel Arteta as our manager.
yeah, but
right?
I agree with that's wrong as well.
He was an
I think
assistant
you're
at
at-
least for a while.
Yeah, I think we're at the point now, though, right, where these clubs, they feel like maybe it's worth taking a gamble on someone that could have potential, has high growth potential, than bringing someone that, like, bringing a Mourinho, right, and just shitting on everything, or bringing in like a Conte, where he's very short termism. Conte, right? He'll come in, he'll get all the players he needs for his 3-5-2. He'll win the league, and then he'll go. Right? It's not building anything for the future. Look at that. He just won the league with Inter. And they've already dismantled that. He's already left. Like he's already gone, and they sold off like a lot of the best players from that, right? So it's like what do? You want someone that's going to help you build like a team. I think also United, Arsenal, they both had that, almost like lifetime managers, right? We had Arsenal, they had Sir Alex Ferguson. I think we're used to that. Someone who's got a vision and is going to build and can do something over a long period of time, like over the long term. I think maybe they hope that Oli can do that. The same way we're hoping that Mikel can do that, right? Every now and again he shows signs, but like
I think Arteta had way more like credibility and people backing him.
We said-
Like he was
said that,
Guardiola's
but
like number 2.
yeah, but Oli was an actual manager. Arteta has never been a manager of a club before, right? Like it's almost like disrespectful to Patrick Vieira, who had managed, like, I think he managed the States, managed in France, and he was director of football at Man City, but then he wasn't considered for the job. But then Mikel, who's got excellent hair, and he was working for Pep. Like I think he is. People say that he's, around football they respect him a lot, but it's like really bold decision we've taken, right? And we're sticking with him. And
I think you guys, you hired a guy who's essentially learning on the job. There's no two ways around it. And with that,
yeah,
you have to manage expectations, right? There's no way. Even Jurgen Klopp, a seasoned winner at Dortmund, an underdog, came in and didn't win straight away. Went through losing 4 or 5 finals before finally clinching the title, right? And so it's a process. And again, we'll come on to Arsenal, but it doesn't happen overnight. And that's with a world-class manager. I'm just trying to think through now, outside of Klopp, Guardiola, Tuchel, as I said, I think the Ajax coach has a lot of hype around him. Ten Hag, is that his name?
Ten Hag, yeah.
He's seen excellently with Ajax. And who else is it that is at
Hansi
the top
Flick
of
was
their
pretty
game?
good, but he took
He's
the
a
Germany
German
job.
coach now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ancelotti is
Yeah.
up there as well. I would go him.
Is he still there?
He's an
Ancelotti?
elite manager. He's not doing bad at Everton. Is he?
He's
at
at Real Madrid.
He's at
Real
back to
Madrid
Real.
now.
Go back to
Oh, he's
Real.
back to Real. Oh, you're right.
What a
Yeah.
shambles.
We cut
Misinformation.
Cut that bit out. No, but genuinely, he's up there as well. I mean, he goes back and forth between big clubs all the time.
More of like an old school manager, right? Like,
Yeah, but
he's one of the ones that I think he's one that knows how to like get a lot out of the big personalities. I think, like, if you have a club that's got, like, a club like United where you've got loads of big stars, I think someone like Ancelotti probably can get something out of them. But I feel like you saw at Everton where it's more about, can you get a team to like go up a level? I don't think he was able to really do it. Like, he managed to get a tune out of James for a short while, got some good performances out of Calvert-Lewin, but I feel like it's different. I think where our clubs are now, like, for example, like, he was in the running for the Arsenal job, but I don't think that would have worked given where we're at. Like,
no,
we're a work in progress.
I'm a bit cynical about appointments like Solskjaer and Arteta, because I feel like there's maybe 2 reasons why the owners want managers like that. One is like it's over an easy fan win, getting an ex-player in. There's less scrutiny of a former player as a manager than there is someone else who comes in especially to change things.
Look at Unai Emery.
Exactly. He didn't get this level of patience from the fans or from the management team. And then, of course, there's a even more cynical factor is that they're cheaper than the superstar managers. I mean, ultimately, like, money talks, right? And we talk about Wenger in his last days. His only objective was to make the Champions League. That was like the trophy he was set by the ownership of the club. And that's why I go back to it. Like, ownership of the club has a huge an even bigger role to play than manager these days. Managers aren't the center of the club like they used to be. And no matter how much we hear about,
they have to have the ambition, right? I feel like our ownership haven't shown ambition for a really, really long time, like at all.
Yeah, and just look at the off the field, like we can call them signings or whatever, but we had Raul Sanlahi, and then there was problems there. Now we've got Edu, and we're going for this like superstar agent model. Like
I guess you could give us some context, right? Because I guess FSG and KSC, they're probably got more of a presence in American sports. Like, how do the two of them, like, how do they do in NFL and NBA, whatever?
Yeah. So before we get back to the topic, but anyway, Kroenke, he moved one of his American football teams from St. Louis to LA. Obviously, they used to be in LA, but that was like 40 years ago. But he mainly did it for the money, obviously, moving the team to LA because the LA didn't have a football team, so he built a brand new stadium, like couple $100 million stadium over there. So that's what he did. And then he has another basketball team, the Nuggets.
Is that the Rams?
Yeah, the Rams. Yeah. And then the Nuggets, they're doing pretty well. They never have like super high expectations, but they've been doing well recently. They've hired good people and they have good players. But yeah, back to Liverpool. I just wanted to ask you, they didn't really do much last season, mostly because of injuries, but what was your expectations for like, Premier League and Champions League this year?
I think, if we look at Liverpool in isolation, notwithstanding, the transfers and our rivals were making, I was feeling confident because, as I said, I think I mentioned this to Khalid yesterday, the bar that Liverpool had set prior to last season was exceptionally unprecedented, right? 99 points, 97 points, toe-to-toe with City. We are well away, well and above the rest of the competition outside of City, in my view. And so I had confidence that if we with a full squad, with the addition of Konate, remember, since winning the league, we signed Konate, Thiago, and Jota, right? So if we superimpose and imagine we signed them this season with our full squad, that's, I'd be very confident going, into the next season that we're going to challenge.
You forgot Minamino.
Yeah, I think Minamino, that was the year we signed, the year we won the league. I think he signed in January, right? He just scored tonight, actually. We won 2-0, by the way, Preston. Good result. So I think, as a standalone, being very confident, as long as we sort of got our football together, and there were some strong lessons learned, which I believe that's the thing with Klopp. Every sort of setback the team has, it seems as though they learn from it, right? First season, we could beat the big teams, but not the small teams. The next season, we could beat the small teams, but not the big teams. Okay, how do we address that? Next season, we're winning both, but not the title clinchers. After that, we were beating everyone. So we lost 6 games at home at Anfield last year. We couldn't break teams down who were parking the bus. We learned from that again. So, I think we're going to smash it this season, hopefully. I think we're going to challenge on all fronts. Looks like we're going through in the Carabao Cup. But yeah, the only shadow was United signed Ronaldo, Chelsea signed Lukaku. But ultimately, that doesn't affect us, right? We just need to win our games. And when it comes to those big games, show why we're still the champions. So feeling good.
What do you make of Thiago now that you've had a long stretch of time? I mean, I would say arguably Jota's fitted in much better than Thiago into the system and the way of play.
I think Thiago he was probably our player of the season last year. He's just one of those guys which, it's the pre-assist, the hockey assist that he gets, and his vision is excellent. I think Jamie Redknapp waxes lyrical about Thiago when he does play, and I think his biggest letdown has been injuries, and similar with Naby Keita. But I think the best thing about Liverpool is the players are interchangeable. You take out Henderson, put in Thiago. Take out, Fabinho, put in Henderson in that role. Take out Milner, put in Oxlade-Chamberlain. The team still plays the same. And that's what Klopp's built. And that's what makes us so robust to some extent towards injuries. It's just, it's unprecedented that you leave 5-6 centre-backs. Henderson goes into centre-back last season. He gets injured too. So, I think that's part and parcel of why I think we're going to be so good. I think we're better suited to cope with injuries than most. Obviously, everyone's got a best player. If Lukaku's out for a while, Ronaldo, or it's not about Ronaldo, but Salah's out for a while, we could struggle, but I have confidence that we'll find a way.
Isn't the African nations going to disrupt your season this year?
Yeah, but
Mane and Salah out. So what are you going to do then?
Potentially only for 2 games, though. I think it was Brentford away and Crystal Palace at home as the best case scenario. So there was talk about African Cup of Nations recalling the players, and we may miss Chelsea and another big game, but I don't think that's going to happen. If it does, yeah, it could be. You don't want to lose your best players for the biggest game, one of the biggest games of the season. But
Egypt
hopefully
usually go quite far as well, don't they?
Who?
Generally, Egypt usually
Egypt.
quite well. Yeah.
I don't know if Egypt do. I don't think they do. You know, I think
Aren't they the most-
Senegal.
Historically,
Senegal's
they're the
probably
most
better.
successful team.
Yeah, they won the most, right? So
I'm not sure, you know. But yeah,
Morocco's usually
they've got
pretty
the
good.
best. They've got the best Egyptian in the Premier League, Mohamed El Neni, in their team. So I'm sure.
Leicester drew 2-2 to Brighton. Shamble. Oh my God, West Ham drew with Man City. Is that
I don't
extra
think
time
so.
now?
Oh, they go straight to penalties, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah, I thought it was pens.
That would be good because the City have it's just been like their cup, right, for the last like 3-4 seasons, the Carabao. So it's our
Have
only way
you
back
seen
into-
like more? Oh, sorry, Khalid.
It might be our only way back into Europe for Arsenal, so we need all the good teams to go out.
As long as we don't end up in the European Conference League, or whatever it's
League.
called.
God.
God.
But yeah,
Yusuf, I was
would
going
you
to ask you,
would you grade it
who
as
are the
a?
biggest?
Go ahead.
Sorry, man. Who are the biggest clubs around you? Like since Liverpool's relatively recent success, do you see more Liverpool fans, or does it not sort of work like that around
Oh
you?
yeah, definitely. Just because, obviously, you know, we're Muslim, so a lot of Muslim fans and Arab fans, even if they weren't even into soccer, like most people don't even watch like, you know, most of the games. They might tune into like, you know, Champions League, knockout stages. But yeah, everybody has a Salah jersey. Everybody has maybe a Mane jersey, maybe a Liverpool. Yeah, any Liverpool jersey. So even Keita, you know, so they have a strong like Muslim presence in their team, so they're pretty popular. But yeah, it's mostly
Toure as well.
Liverpool, United, Chelsea. I don't see any Tottenham fans. There's like one guy that we always make fun of, but yeah, he's like trying to bail on them now. But yeah, would you grade Liverpool as like basically an A+ so far, right? They haven't lost a game, I don't think, in Premier League or Champions League.
Yeah, listen, I think, you know, people talk about the 10-man draw against Chelsea at home, but that's one of the best defenses in Europe. 10 men behind the ball, right? You know, it's not easy to cut them open. And I think if we played that game again, as I said, even from that, I think we learned a lesson. So when it comes to playing them at Stamford Bridge, I think we'll be better equipped. But yeah, it's been a fantastic start, man. It's absurd. You know, beating Atletico, I think Atletico haven't lost 4 years at home in Europe. We went and dealt with them there same week, out or Trafford away. It's just looking amazing. Winning again with our kids today. You know, it's looking very good, positive. Yeah, fingers crossed that injuries are, you know, reasonable this time, and we should be flying.
I don't know if it's only me, but I always look forward to Liverpool losing at least one game per season. That's like all I've got left as an Arsenal fan.
Any team
it's
losing
like
one game.
It's like, I've seen everyone lose one game.
City got it done quickly, right? So I
By the way,
watching that column for Liverpool, the L column.
Foden just missed a penalty, so West Ham are 1 up.
Oof.
There's like a joke around here that the Dolphins, the NFL team, that in 1972 they went undefeated throughout the whole season. They won the championship and all that. And so like every single season, when the last team that's undefeated loses, they like throw a party or something like that. So hopefully Arsenal fans can do it. Yeah. But yeah, Salah, I feel like he's kind of had the same effect as, you know, Henry came for cheap. The thing is, you bought your superstar for cheap, so then you can spend in other areas and keep developing the team. So they kind of had the same effect.
Are we saying like cheap, like 30 million or cheaper than that?
Yeah.
How much was it?
I think
was it like 30?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's 30 million,
It's
right?
about 35 million, something like that. Yeah, it's peanuts, I think, in the grand scheme of things. And especially, thing is, I don't know how to benchmark the current market. I have no idea what's cheap or expensive. I think that anything under 50 million now is a bargain. But unprecedented. You can't buy the best player of the world for 30 million, right? And so we bought him as a prospect, and he's delivered for 5 years now. Top level, going for Golden Boot every single season, driving it. His professionalism is unquestionable. It's amazing. So yeah, we're lucky to have him, and hopefully, you know, we'll have to break the bank, the wage structure to keep him. By the sounds of it, 350, 400k a week. You know, it's not my money. We'll pay for it. And you know, think about the opportunity cost. How difficult it would be to replace Salah, right? It's, you know, I think it's just a dance at the moment. I think he'll stay. He said he wants to stay, right? So inshallah, he's here for life.
And he's fighting Islamophobia.
Yeah.
One
Some of the
goal
songs
at a
are
time.
amazing, man.
think
But yeah.
Newcastle will do more to increase it again. I've already seen the protests outside the it wasn't outside the stadium, or like opposing fans who held like a banner up. Yeah.
Good thing Salah is not affiliated with any like super dictatorial like ownership or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, he's probably the best player in the world and currently in his form right now. So it's not much you can complain about.
Not much at all.
No, but I mean, his last few goals have just been unreal. Like the one against Watford was just, I mean, it's like his sleight of foot, like just delicate balance, but it puts, Premier League level defenders out of the game. And then his finishing is always hitting the side netting. That's like,
he's playing with
there's
the
not many
kind
other
of
players
confidence
can do
that Henry used to play with, right? Where he just knows he's going to score every time. He knows he's going to, whatever he wants to do, he's going to do it. Like, so I was playing with that kind of like swagger now, right? Like he's like untouchable, invincible. He can do whatever he wants, and it's everything's coming off. But Old Trafford has got a hat trick, man. Like even
15 minutes,
the touches, even against United, like when he went through, I think after the Henderson pass, I think he took one heavy touch. Like
the second touch was heavy.
Yeah, but he still
finished it.
just kind of finished it so perfectly. Like God, he's so good.
Yeah, I think Henderson doesn't get enough credit. That ball was phenomenal.
Yeah,
like that ball outside of the foot was unreal.
Very good. I think, like you said, it's confidence. And I think casting our minds back to Salah's first season where he banged in 44 goals, he was trying to chip the goalie on one-on-ones. And that's something you only do with supreme confidence. I remember looking at him when he was going through a relatively barren spell, only 20 goals in the league. But one-on-one, he was fluff a couple. Whereas before, with the confidence, he's chipping and dinking. And, you can't underestimate how important it is for. That's why it's just not him, it's just also the team, right? When the team's performing well, you have that freedom to go and express yourself. That's why I rate Steven Gerrard so much, because he was, for most of his career in a struggling team, but he was still able to produce brilliance, with confidence. And, it comes down to mentality, something that Klopp's instilled. But yeah, Salah, fantastic player.
He's had some great passes this season too.
Yeah,
outside the boot. That's I think the ultimate like test of swagger, whether you're using your outside of the boot.
Man City are out the Carabao Cup.
Are they out?
Are they?
Yeah. Man City. West Ham scored every single penalty.
Now we get to lose to Liverpool or Chelsea instead.
But yeah,
we'll win a quadruple.
I mean, it's possible, but depends how many minutes Klopp wants to play his stars.
Now Man City are out. I'm feeling confident about the Carabao. Go ahead, Yusuf. You going to change the subject?
Yeah, I was just going to shift a little bit from Liverpool to Arsenal. I guess starting with the off-season moves, people were saying they don't have a plan. Well, when obviously they had a plan of buying young guys and, developing them when they weren't going for that one season, fix. They're going for more of a long-term view. So we'll start with Nabeel. What did you think of the off-season moves? And, you in with a plan of, developing for the long term?
I mean,
you still have to make top 6, but yeah.
But we're in that middle, class of teams where we actually can't afford the superstar players. And really, there's no players that are super cheap either. So I felt like we played the only card that we could really play. Now, if you ask me, did I think Ben White was worth 50 million when we bought him? Probably not. Did I want William Saliba to come back and take that position? Yes. But, the test of time has shown actually Ben White's fit into the team pretty well. So in hindsight, I'm happy with it. I think when we first signed him, I thought it was a bit much. I thought Ramsdale was a bit much as well.
Turns out they have better scouts than us.
Yeah. I think, and we got Lokonga as well. And I think there's Nuno Tavares, but he hasn't played as much. But all three of those players, have proven their worth. I think that's fair to say. I wasn't anti or really for the strategy we've taken. I think that was the only one we could play. So I don't think it's a stroke of genius either. Like I wouldn't say, oh, they've played a blinder here and bought loads of young players, and that's the way they should have done it. I think that was the only choice we had, because we can't afford that top tier of player. So far it's worked well, and mixing those guys in with, let's call it like the breakthrough players of Saka and Emil Smith-Rowe from last season, I think the team has gelled really well. Odegaard again fit in really well. I'm excited about the team. I don't think we're anywhere near like comfortable top 4. We might have an outside shot if we get a good run of games together. But this is a squad maybe for 2 or 3 years from now. And I think that's when the real test will be. I think for now, this team plays with no expectations. I think if you're realistic, you think that they play with no expectations. If you're a fan who's blinkered, then you might expect that, oh, we should be challenging for top 4, but I don't think that's the state that the club is in right now.
Khalid, you had a similar perspective. Yeah.
We've tried the short termism the last few years, right? We've bought like old guys to try and get us back. Like I think when we first fell out of the Champions League, we bought we bought Aubameyang, we bought Lacazette, we bought Mkhitaryan. Since then we bought David Luiz, we bought older dudes.
Socrates.
Right? So we basically signed experienced older guys who have experience at the top level to try and get us back quickly, and it didn't work, right? Like Willian on paper last season would have, it made sense, right? Like he had a really good season in Chelsea 2 seasons ago, so we thought we're gonna, he's gonna carry on, but that was shambles. But like Nabeel said, I feel like we probably didn't have. Maybe we could have bought some old dudes, like good old dudes, but I don't think that's the way you want to go. I think it's almost much risk averse way as well in terms of financially to buy young players, because like English guys, for example, Ben White and Ramsey, I think they're the ones you're going to pay a premium for. But because I think they've both been in England squads already, I think they're both, because of the homegrown quota thing, I think they're still going to always maintain some sort of value, because they're still quite young as well, right? I think. I
also think Premier League quality player, like Premier League experience, is worth like 20 million, like in and of itself. Like Pepe, like 70 million pound player, no experience in Premier League. I think he's blown hot and cold, mostly cold, I would say. So like, I understand there's English premium, but there's also a Premier League experience premium that people don't normally take into account.
For sure. I mean, if you look at the cheap signings for us this summer, they were like Odegaard, who had a bit of some Premier League experience. I think 35 mil for like the Norwegian captain from Real Madrid. I think that seems like decent value, right? And then Tavares and Tomiyasu. I think Tomiyasu's been good. I think a different type of, like, not the type of fullback we would have thought. We're thinking of like your ones that bomb on, like your the Emerson
Trent
guy that went to. Trent is a unique in his own right.
Yeah.
Like I think that there aren't many players like him in the league. But I think the type of profile that Tomiyasu is, I feel like it seems to work. And like he's just like he's defender first. And I think maybe that kind of, because you're going to have someone like Tierney or Tavares on the other side, maybe it makes sense. So like I've liked all the signings so far. I think we do look quite favorably upon new signings anyway. Like we've always, I guess because we want them to succeed, but so far, like I have no issue with any of them. Like Tavares played the other day when Tierney was injured, and I thought he was really solid. Still looked quite raw, but quite exciting, and he's like 7 million or something. Lokonga is like a high. He's been in the Belgium squad already. They really rate him in Anderlecht. I think when I've seen him, I've been quite impressed. I think I went to the Carabao Cup game against Wimbledon, and it was him and Partey in the middle. And then they kind of shifted the formation up in the second half, and Partey went off, and Lokonga was essentially the only midfielder, and then he had just like the more attacking guys on, and he was holding it down himself. I was quite impressed. The other day with him and Partey, I thought they did really well. Now that Xhaka's out for a while as well, like you want him to step. Essentially, we want him to replace Xhaka, right? We want him to grow into that player that takes that role. So I have no issue with any of the signings. Ramsdale, I think, was one that we were all quite negative about, but I guess he's showing his value already in terms of like he's attributes that he's got. That Leno, like we all like Leno. Leno's a great shot stopper. but like, you know, he's not the best. He's okay with his feet, but like, you know, nothing fancy. And you've got Ramsdale, like, you know, he's pinging it along the
There's a little bit
ground,
of a
halfway up the pitch
crazy
and
edge
stuff.
to him.
Yeah. You know, he's very vocal. He's coming for crosses. Like, I quite like him. I like his personality, and I think I don't know. I thought he's done really well. Like, I wouldn't put Leno back. And Leno had a good game last night. I wouldn't put him back in. I feel like Ramsdale's. It's almost shown you like there were attributes that we just kind of ignored. That we thought like we kind of forgot that goalkeeper should have because Leno
It's kind of
didn't have those, right?
intangibles. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he's got those. Ben White, like, it was expensive, but when you think someone like Maguire went for what, 80 million or something stupid, like, I think Ben White has got attributes to be a really good modern centre back. He's good with his feet. Like, he can come out with the ball. His passing is really good. Like, he's got good pace. Like, I don't know if you guys saw the other day. Like, he just ran up the length of the pitch, took out, like, went past like 4 or 5 Aston Villa players. Like, now it's part of, like, when I was watching like the Tifo videos and scouting videos about him beforehand, that's a lot of stuff they were talking about. Like, he's really good at bringing the ball out of defense. He almost beat a press on his own and then bring the whole team up. He's also got a range. And I think when you're losing someone like David Luiz, who, for all his, you know, David Luiz moments, you know, there are very few players, very few centre backs as good as him on the ball. And I think, like we've seen, Rob Holding is more of an old-fashioned defender. He's not really that great with the ball. I think a lot of our play, like, I think even Shahed, you might notice as well, right? Like, when you've got Van Dijk playing, right? Even when you're building up, it makes a huge difference, right, to the way in which you guys progress the ball up the pitch, or you can kind of beat the press and break the opposition down, right?
I mean, just think about it, right? If a defender is pushing through midfield with the ball, somebody has to leave their man in midfield, right? Otherwise, he's going to walk all the way through to go to the end and score. So
It's basically about causing chaos. Basically causing chaos in the defense. Yeah.
And I think, you know, to need to have a certain level of composure. And Liverpool, we're very lucky. I think we've probably got three of the best in the league at playing the ball. Like Van Dijk, Gomez, even Matip with his wandering around, even Konate, as you saw against United, top level. But I just wanted to quickly go back to what Khalid was saying, and I think going back to my point about asset allocation for clubs who aren't owned by billionaires, right? You know, there's an opportunity cost of spending 50 million on Ben White and X amount on Ramsdale. And so do you reckon that you guys spent in the best places? And, you know, to your point about, you know, Harry Maguire was 80 million. On one hand, I agree. But on the other hand, Joe Matip was free. Joe Gomez cost 5 million. You know, so there's always, you know, no matter how you frame it, Ben White was an expensive signing, but time will tell. You know, if he goes on to be someone who's ball playing dominant, I think that's one thing. I don't think Ben White quite is dominant, and I think that's really important. You need an aggressive leader at the back. I don't know what your views are on that.
I think he could be aggressive, but yeah, I guess he's not the most. He's not like Van Dijk type beast. But is
Gabriel the beast then?
Gabriel's the beast in our back centre back. But then we've also Saliba is also quite huge. And I guess he's also good on the ball. And I think, maybe that's an area Ben White is going to have to like develop. But I think he's kind of shown it. I think except for the Ivan Toney game, I feel like he's dealt with the physical challenges quite well. I mean, he was a centre back for Brighton, and they had a good defense last season as well. Like, it's not like he's not used to the Premier League. I think
he's just not that big, like, in terms of height. Like, that's probably his biggest issue.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why it's helpful to have someone like Tomiyasu, who's like, I think 6'2" and really good in the air next to him on one side, and Gabriel, who's much more physically dominant on the other side. And Gabriel's also very good with his feet. Like, I think Gabriel kind of goes. I know he's going to bring up that Benteke goal the other way, but generally, like, he was just caught too square to him there, right? He didn't force it. They forced to let him go onto his stronger foot. But generally, I think he's really, really excellent. Like, he's one of the few centre backs. He's one of about like few defenders we've had in a long time who I think can play for be able to get in most Premier League teams, just because he's quick, he's huge, he's good on the ball, he's aggressive in the challenge. Like, I think he's an excellent defender. I think he's only going to get better. He's like 23, 24, right? And Shad, like you said, last year, I guess we spent 28 million on Gabriel, and the year before that, paid 30 million for Saliba. So we put money like into these other centre backs, right? And I think David Luiz was a big part of our defense last season, and we had to replace him. I think we have to always be conscious. Like, last season, we had the issue where we couldn't register 2 players because we had so many non-homegrown dudes. So I think we obviously made a conscious effort to sign more homegrown players as well.
How much did Tierney cost?
Tierney
It
was
was
20
like
million?
25, something like that. 20.
Yeah, it was-
22, I think. But
I
he didn't
think
count
that's
as
what
homegrown.
You need some luck, right? You need some of your, you need Tommy Yasso to suddenly come out and be a world beater. That's the luck you need sometimes to push the club on, right? Like we bought Robertson and suddenly he's amazing. Fabinho comes in, has got a good reputation, but is amazing. And I think that's where, you need that stroke of luck to help push a club onto the next level, because without it, it just one year just rolls into the other, as you've seen, right? It's been so long now since, Arsenal, obviously FA Cups, but the title, as United are saying now, they're going into the 10th year without a title. It's very
I guess
difficult.
we've been very lucky in things in like Bukayo Saka's breakthrough and Smith Rowe. Like they're both looking, excellent players that have come essentially for free, right, through the academy. And I think it's very rare. Like, I don't know how many of the top teams have actually got like their academy products as their main in their top starting 11 amongst their best players. And I think we're quite
Mason
lucky.
Mount, probably. Yeah.
Rashford as well, I would say.
But then is Saka? I don't think Saka. Who's Saka starting for in the top four? Objectively, he's probably nobody, right? Chelsea, not Chelsea.
He'd start ahead of Greenwood for Man United, for example.
Man United.
It's a toss-up,
He's starting ahead of Sancho for the England national team.
That's actually true.
Sancho didn't have that Premier League experience. He's having the same issues, kind of, I think.
So I think, as good as Saka and these guys are, and especially Smith Rowe, I think is excellent potentially. We have to recognize that he's still at this stage potential, right? And good play. But there's still a big gap. There's still a gap to the first teams of the top three, which I think Arsenal are slowly going to try and bridge, right? I just thought,
one of the things we lack, and it goes back to what you said, Shahed, about Van Dijk being commanding. So Gabriel is a beast, but he's not commanding. And I feel like commanding is like a type of person. It's almost like a personality trait more than a physical stature. So who's the last like commanding defender Arsenal had? I'm struggling to think of one. We might have had good technical players. We might have had
Zaka, maybe
physical players. Yeah, exactly.
Sol Campbell
you'd have to go back to like Sol Campbell and Adams, who they do things with intent, and like it motivates the team around them. It gives them so much confidence when they see Van Dijk like coming for the ball, making a strong tackle, like winning a header like so convincingly. We don't have that. Like we don't have any personalities. I'm looking at the Arsenal squad and I'm seeing zero personality. Like
even Partey's like kind of a
team.
quiet person. I thought he would be more like commanding in the midfield. He's kind of like a big guy.
Yeah, he's personally like I think he's been a bit disappointing recently, and maybe you can say he performs well when he has like Xhaka next to him, and that's true. But I would expect Partey to actually be that in and of himself in the midfield. I mean, that's what he was brought in to be.
He was doing that at Atletico, but he had Atleti's midfielders with him that everyone works in that team. Right?
Yeah, and the system. I agree.
Yeah, like the other day we played him with just Ødegaard and Smith Rowe and Saka, and it's like he was left in the midfield essentially on his own, and like he was obviously getting outnumbered constantly. But like you have to kind of let him play because I think he's our best midfielder by like a country mile. Like he's I think one of the most elite player in our entire squad. I think he's one that would walk into a lot of the top teams. Like Man United basically need Thomas Partey. I mean they've got McFred, right, and Matic. Like they need Thomas Partey in their team. Like we're really lucky that we just paid that 50 million release clause and signed him because like he's excellent. I think we should we're gonna struggle when he goes to the African Cup of Nations.
Do you reckon what's the Croydon De Bruyne? Do you reckon he's good enough to build around at Arsenal? Do you reckon he's that good, or do you reckon he's yet to be seen? Like I guess I only see the highlights of him. I don't see him game in, game out for Arsenal.
I like him more than Ødegaard.
Yeah, he's different, right? I feel like he does well when he plays off the left, actually. And then either Ødegaard or Lacazette, I guess, in the number 10 position. But I think he needs to add goals. Like he has to to be more clinical in the final third. I feel like he gets into good positions and he just
he's had a few one-on-ones where he has
or like ones where he just kind of underpowers it. But I think he needs to if he adds goals to his game, and also like I feel like there've been times where there's the opportunity to play the final ball, and he's either he's underhit it, overhit it, or taken a shot on instead when there's the chance to play the perfect. But I think, that comes with experience. I think.
Yeah.
I think in all of our games
Who's
this season, he's probably been our most consistent player this season, because he's one of the guys. He's clever, right? He finds space and links up. He links play together. He's drop him in between, like drop deep, link up the play, and then progress it up the pitch. Like
he's also one of our few players who runs past the ball, like looking for space in a forward position. I think Odegaard and other players drop back to collect the ball. And I think we have very few players besides Aubameyang and actually Smith Rowe and maybe Saka on occasion who run past the ball and look for it, like look for a through ball or look for the 1-2 by going ahead of the ball. I think that's what we've missed the last couple of seasons.
Arsene would have loved a player like Smith Rowe. I think.
Yeah,
Arsene would have because he's more like a throw. We used to have so many technical players right in our team. I think every time someone shows that they've got some technical quality, I think we get quite excited. That's why we like Smith Rowe quite a lot. We love these diminutive playmakers, isn't it? That's what we grew up on.
I think it's interesting because Carragher was saying that he's one of the best dribblers in the league with the ball at his feet, and then I heard the interview where he said he thinks he's faster with the ball than without it. I think that's a very good quality to have, right?
He's really unexpectedly 6 foot that no one realized. Like,
is he?
Quite hard.
Is he 6 foot?
Yeah, it's weird, right? I found that out from FIFA Ultimate Team, but he is. I think that's why he travels really fast, because he's got a bigger stride than you'd think. Like, so he covers ground really well. I saw like in the goal the other day. I think even against Spurs, the Aubameyang goal, the way he just ran into that space, like they couldn't catch him.
Then who is the player that Arsenal should build around then? Is that Thomas Partey? Who is the best player? Do you know what I mean? Like,
I don't think we have one of those players. I don't think we have a squad-defining player. Let's call it that, like the squad-defining player. The one who is our system and the system fits around him. I don't think.
Yeah,
I think that's down to the manager though as well to some extent, because I don't know what our system is really. Like if I break it down, I feel like it's different game to game. Like that's why we get these wild swings in performance. And you could say maybe we don't have a consistent starting 11, or we've had injuries and we've been unlucky.
So, I think Smith Rowe and Saka would be the answer, but they're obviously only like 21. Like maybe in 3 years, you build around Gabriel, Ben White, Smith Rowe, and Saka. That's kind of your base that you're building around, and Tierney obviously. So, and Tomiyasu. So like I feel like the back line's pretty good, and they're just hoping that they continue to develop and hit their prime. So I mean, I feel like they're only going to be buying mostly, maybe a striker probably in the next window.
Well, next summer.
When Aubameyang leaves for Newcastle, you definitely should replace him.
Like we both our strikers are in their 30s, right? So we need someone that's going to. And then the next two are like 20 and below. So we need someone that's a bit experienced, like mid-20s ish, or even at least early 20s.
I thought it was kind of supposed to be that.
Divock Origi, so you need to say, he scored again today. You guys are sleeping on him, man. He'll do excellent for you. He would. Slayer of hearts. But yeah.
So yeah, what's Nabeel? What was your you kind of mentioned it, but what's your grade of Arteta so far?
Am I talking about purely this season or his whole tenure?
No, he's had more than enough time for you to give a more.
Yeah, whole tenure.
Should I give a whole tenure? I would say it's. I mean, I would give him a C. Yeah, I would give him a straight C. I think it's
a plus for the trophy.
Yeah, perhaps. And I think for that game we played super well, and I think the system was set up perfectly to beat Man City. But Chelsea,
and Man City in the semi.
And Man City, right? That was the
semi-final.
Yeah,
in the semi-final.
Yeah. The game before. I would say that he hasn't instilled a philosophy on this team and a way of playing, and I think there's been too many dodgy decisions. I'm trying to think of the player now. He played someone in the false 9 position, and it's like evading me in one of the games.
Probably Pepe.
Yeah.
No, it was Smith Rowe last year against Villarreal.
He played someone wrong. I can't remember now. He played a false 9 in a game where it shouldn't have been playing that player there. Was it Lacazette? Am I wrong?
No, it was Smith Rowe against or it was Smith Rowe or Odegaard against Villarreal, I think, in the
and it
Europa
was
League
just like a
semi-final.
punt in like one of the most important games of our season, and I thought that was ridiculous. Like that's like stuck with me forever. And I was like, what the hell is he doing? And I think there's been signs of improvement this season. I don't think the improvement's been enough. Like I still don't see a consistent way of playing. Like at least with Arsene Wenger, even in his bad years, let's say, I still knew what he was trying to play. I still knew the system, why he had those players in those positions, and what he was trying to achieve with them, no matter how much it failed often. With Arteta, I just don't understand what he's doing. Like I just can't understand the system. I can't understand the philosophy, and then the execution is just poor. Like it's all around not being good enough. And I think he's had enough time. He's had 2 windows. And I think, I think we do have like the right as fans, and I think the owners should as well make a judgment at Christmas time on how well they think he's doing and whether they think anything's going to change, because I don't think we can wait till the end of the season to change something.
You're going to replace him.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah.
There's nowhere to hide now, right? He's got his team that he's built. He has had plenty of time as well, and I think they show this. It's almost like the Oli thing, right? He show flashes, like they'll have some really good performances, but they seem like more like they're the exception. More often than not, I go into an Arsenal game dreading that it's going to be the crap Arsenal playing, and more often than not, it is. Like we saw. Okay, start of the season, those 3 games, just awful, right? Like
there's too many injuries in that game, though. I think
there were mitigating circumstances, but like through those 3 games, like we were just an absolute shambles. Then Norwich and Burnley, okay, we were a bit more like settled, I guess, but still we weren't playing exceptionally well. We got 1-0
just scraping,
Norwich, who are the worst. But Burnley getting a 1-0 is fine. Like I hate Burnley, the most anti-football team. Like so many times, like passes were under hit in that game because they leave their grass to grow long. Then the guy just goes in with like a pitchfork and starts like messing the pitch up before they get. They're like the worst people in the world. Like I don't know why. I want them to get relegated so bad. I hate Burnley with a passion. But yeah, then we had the North. Did they have North London
Tottenham,
derby?
Yeah.
And I mean that was just like perfect. Like, and then we were all feeling okay. He's got them settled now. We've got a system. I don't know, everyone seems to be buying into. We know what we're doing. Let's push on. We've got a good run of fixtures. Then that Brighton game, we got played off the park. And having grown up watching Arsenal teams, you don't go and get dominated by Brighton, right? And then we got a 0-0. We were lucky to get a 0-0. Like Ramsdale saved us. Like we barely created anything in that game. And then the Palace game last week, like okay, we started a bit well, but then they grew into the game and like we were second best. And it's like Arsenal will be rolling in his grave if he was dead. The way they like Palace were coming to the Emirates and like just dunking on us, man. Like we looked like amateurs in that game. We looked like we were the farmers, right? Like Arsene used to make these other teams look like farmers all the time because like he'd almost treat like the lower teams like outside the top 4. He treat them with almost disdain, right? Like you show up and we batter them, and we then move on. We might get battered against the big teams, but against every other team, essentially, we assert ourselves and like we'd dictate how the game went. And I think this is what like I find like I've not liked them. It's same as with Emery and the same as with Arteta now. It's like Arsenal aren't imposing themselves on games anymore. They're not the ones dictating how a game goes. And unless Arteta can do that, you're not winning the majority of the games in the season, right? Because you're not dominating the smaller teams. Because you're dominating the smaller teams, even if things, we make so many individual stupid errors, right? I mean, I guess every team makes mistakes, but because we're not dominating and not creating loads of chances and battering these teams, we end up suffering because we make one bad mistake and then we give away the equalizer or give away, the winner to the other team. Like, look, Palace made 2 mistakes, right? Twice got dispossessed, twice they scored, and we were lucky to get a last-minute equalizer, right? Another game we were winning at home. And it's like, similar to Nabs, I think come December, I'd be interested to see where we're at, if we can get a run. Like, Arsenal used to always get us, like, we'll get a good run at some point in the season. Arteta had that last season when he had a bad run of defeats. He managed to get a run going, but then the performances start to dip again. I feel like I just want to see us perform like the level we played against Villa and Tottenham in at least a games against all the lower team, like lesser teams. I know the Premier League is strong now and everyone's decent, but our squad is still better than most in the league, right? And I just want to see us go there, like go most places and dominate. I think if he can't do that, then he's not right for Arsenal.
There's almost like a thing to be said. It's like, it's okay if we don't dominate, but to be dominated, like, for so many years we went to Stoke, right? And we weren't dominated by Stoke. We just lost because they were more physical, and it took someone would throw something in and there'd be a header and a fumble and someone would smack it in. But it's like now we're going to those places, and okay, it's, there's like a middle ground between us dominating and them dominating. And it's like, okay, you just lose because on the day you just didn't get your luck. But now we're going places and we're just like completely being outplayed. And against lower league sides, when we
Brighton was one of the worst things I ever watched, man. Like, I don't know how we got 0-0. We only got 0-0 because
who was their left-sided player who had like the most amazing game of his life? The guy with
Brighton's actually been pretty good this year, so
Kukurea,
yeah.
We saw his future stars player in Ultimate Team last season, and we knew he was going to be good.
But I think there's one more thing.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, I think Arsenal really should, if it's not going well, you wait and see how Vieira's doing with Palace. And if he's doing an amazing job, then just nab him. Low risk. What's the worst going to happen? Not going to be in Europe, same as this, a season for Vieira to try and do something without pressure. Could be a good move. Like, as we're going back to it, which other managers are you going to get who are going to work within the constraints of Arsenal? And happy to be there, I think Vieira, he's doing some excellent stuff at Crystal Palace. Like,
I really want Vieira to succeed at Palace because I really want him to then come and become Arsenal manager. Like, I genuinely think, like, I want Vieira to do well because I want him to eventually come back and become Arsenal manager. That's true.
And on merit as well, because he was making Crystal Palace play out from the back with confidence. Like, do you know what I mean? It's good. Comes down to
They're
good
still
coaching.
15th.
They're still 15th. Yeah. I mean,
I almost think it would be too soon for Vieira. I think that's the only problem. Like, he needs a sustained amount of time to prove himself. Yeah.
A season at Crystal Palace, a season in the Premier League. Say, for example, they got I don't know what's good for Crystal Palace. 12,
10. I think
quite
it's
arbitrary.
If they're up to 10, I would say it's good. Yeah.
Top half.
Top 10 is good achievement for Palace. I think that's too good. I think you get the United job if you've got 10 for Palace. That's what's going to happen. But yeah, it's exciting.
They're playing the football. I think they've been unlucky with a lot of draws.
Yeah, you're saying a lot of draws, right? That's what you're saying.
But even against us, like, I mean, we saw that goal. Like, there was proper carnage at the end. Like,
there's one more thing I want to say about our squad and Arteta. So earlier in the podcast, we talked about the fact that we don't have commanding players, like a big personality in our squad. But the antidote to that is to have tremendous man management by your manager. Like, you don't have one big personality, but your manager is able to get the best out of every single individual in the squad playing in a system that he wants us to play. And I think Arteta as a man manager is also really poor. Like, how many players has he fallen out with or, had issues with? How many players are actually really good, but he's just not getting the best out of them outside of Emil Smith-Rowe and Saka? I feel like he could do a lot more to bring the best out of players. Gabriel blows hot and cold sometimes as well, when I think he's a good enough player to perform consistently really well at the back. And you might say that's the players around him and stuff. But I feel like he should be getting more out of the squad we have as well. I mean, this is not a 10th, 11th position squad.
Yeah, the squad is fully underperforming.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
And that's on the manager, though.
That's on him.
That's on him. Like, if we don't have personality, that's fine. Like, you might not have one, but the tools you've got, you have to get the best out of them. And that's only going to come through good man management. Like the way he's played the Saliba situation as well. Maybe that's not only him, but you can't be making good players unhappy. And he's done that with Aubameyang. I think partway through the season, he did that. He had that whole famous thing with Guendouzi. Again, I'm not saying we need to keep Guendouzi. He might have been a problem.
Don't forget Messi as well, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
he kept Messi out of the spot, and we were dying. We were crying out for a number 10. We weren't creating any chances, no creativity, and then he didn't never played him again, right? And it's like,
and that's like fully his responsibility. And I know there might be interference from above in the club, but he has to do better with the players he's got, and he hasn't done that.
Maybe that's also one of the reasons why they, like you said, almost another one of the cynical reasons why they've gone for Arteta and they've kept him, is like, he, as someone that's, you know, younger manager as well, hasn't got all, you know, he's not got that much clout of his own. He's not got a reputation. He's not, you know, he himself is pretty much a no one, right? So the club can maybe impose, you know, more on him and, you know, restrict him more than you could with like a Conte or a Mourinho or something, right? Like maybe that's what they want. Maybe they you know, they're trying to change the power structure where it was, you know, us and everything to, yeah, you look after, we give you the squad, maybe we'll work with you to help put it together, but your job is to just coach them and we'll sort everything else out. Like
a bit of a yes man.
Yeah, maybe that is what it is. I don't know, man. Like, I think he's lost a lot of the. I think after the FA Cup win, we all, you know, we were all back and we all want him to succeed, but I think that's dwindled a lot. And I think all the goodwill he had, I think it's pretty much now everyone's pretty much like just. It's either going to go one way, either okay. It's not going to take much for us to just be like fully Arteta out now. I think most people are quite close to that. I think it's just a case of, like I said, getting some consistent performances out of this team, because this squad should be performing much better. They should be at least challenging for the Europa League places, right?
Yeah.
This season.
Yeah, what was it? Ninth last year. So I think they have to be top 6 this year.
And we're
Fifth or
eighth in the
sixth.
end.
Or the eighth, okay.
My
I think
opinion.
5th or 6th should be the benchmark.
God. Yeah, I'd rather.
I think 6th is our
if we're not
ceiling.
going to get 7th, then like if we're not going to get 6th, I'd rather we get 8th so we don't go into the Europa Conference League. Like
but that's this season. But that is
the prize
this season.
for winning
though.
Conference League is getting into the Europa League. That's what you get for winning the Conference League. Man. It's a proper shambles.
Whilst I agree with that, Khalid, that is the story of this season, because we're in this season having finished 8th.
Yeah, I'd rather
just play like
we have to get
15-year-olds
sixth.
in the
That's
Conference League or something. Whatever, do whatever you want in the Conference League, but just
I guess
get
that
better.
is what I miss. That is what I miss from the Europa League. Is that in the group stages we get to see like some of the youngsters that come through. Players like Martinelli would get more time.
I mean, you guys have to wait a week between games now, pretty much most weeks.
Yeah,
surely you'd have
it's a bit
something
crap.
in there, right? Something is Arsenal is better than, you know, Corey or EastEnders.
I think the club's promoting the women's team.
What a shambles!
Really
The
good.
women's team are
Obviously,
smashing
but
it.
what a
They're doing
shambles.
really well.
Don't get canceled, dude.
I'm just saying that's what the club. I mean, they didn't previously do it that much, but now they're mixing up quite a lot more than they used to.
That is so funny.
What's so funny about it?
Well, you know, the lack of football for Arsenal, man. You'd never in a million years if Arsenal are on a title run. I mean, that's what it takes. The men's team to be doing shamrifically, for the women's game to be promoted. You know, you'll have
That's the
United
thing,
women.
like-
Go ahead.
If you're making Champions League, you're gonna have tough games like within midweek too. So it's like you gotta have a squad good enough. Like you can't make this excuse that, you know, we can't show off our young players. You gotta, and the old players are not performing well enough. Like on the weekends, like they've got to be performing well, like regardless. Like Liverpool have a tough schedule, but they're still performing well. Like eventually, you're building a squad that's going to be good enough to play twice a week.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, it takes time,
If we
but
make it back to the Champions League, our squad we're gonna have to spend a hell of a lot to make our squad good enough to cope on 2 actual competitive competitions. Like Europa League, you can just about do because it's the first like 6 games you just play the kids, right? But like Liverpool have that squad, right? City, Chelsea, they've got that squad. United technically do as well.
But yeah, the big game against Leicester this weekend. We'll probably wrap up with a couple, quick questions. I was kind of like going back to Shahed's question, like which like young guy do you like the most, and which guy do you think like has the most potential?
In the squad, or
For Arsenal, yeah.
yeah, I would say that it's a pretty obvious answer, but Emil Smith-Rowe has been the standout player this season. I'll say Saka was that last season, but this season Emil Smith-Rowe has really shown. I mean, he's the only one performing, let's say, to his full potential. He's almost carrying the team a little bit on some of the games. So for sure, I would say Emil Smith-Rowe is the one. I wouldn't say we should build our team around him yet. By the way, I don't think I would take it that far, but I think he's definitely been our most promising player. I think, like I said, if we had goals, then he's going to be he's going to be the Arsenal guy.
Bill, did Saka miss a penalty at the Euros? Was he one of the three?
Yeah, he was the last one. He was the last one.
And so, have you seen that impact him at all? Like, you could argue Sancho has been affected. Has Saka's performance has been at the levels of previous season? In your view, his personal performances?
I thought you were making a joke.
No, I just wanted to know really.
I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't. It's hard to attribute. He hasn't started the season like he did, like he ended last season, and he played like the first most of the games in the tournament for England. And he was still one of the best players. It's hard to attribute that to the penalty miss, but it's definitely been a factor that has weighed on his psychology.
Maybe, no? Do you think maybe he's not had enough of a break?
That could also be
he's young, isn't it?
But he's not looked anywhere near as sharp this season. Like he's
is that the case?
Yeah.
So
maybe is that psychological?
Maybe there is a psychological factor.
It has to be some effect. I mean, Rashford's doing well, but he's had the first 2 months off, right, to really digest it.
Yeah,
These
he
guys
just
have only
came
had a
back.
few weeks. Yeah, exactly. And there's no way it doesn't have an impact, right? It's the biggest moment in their careers, pretty much so far. To have it sort of manifest in the way in which it did, with the way society is, there's never been, to be able to live it down. You almost want to have a good game the next week to be able to sort of shut everyone up. But I had the summer 4 weeks. I think it's going to take time. I mean, Sancho is too good a player to have played 7 games and had no impact on any of those games. Or you could argue 7 games is nothing, but it's a shame. I think it's just, hopefully they all come back. I'm sure they will, but the mental side of football is often not spoken about enough. And the top players have that mentality, right? Ronaldo, Salah, Messi, Neymar, just this relentlessness. And that's the thing, being able to cope with that pressure is why a lot of really talented players don't make it, right, to the top level. So I'm just curious about Saka. Really, I haven't seen him too closely this season, but it's interesting to hear Khalid say he's not as sharp. But again, it could be down to a number of factors, but maybe that penalty miss is one of them.
People still complain about that with Neymar, that he's not focused 100%.
Yeah, man, all the talent in the world.
Absurd talent, though, right?
Yeah. He's one of those guys where he's got just so much talent that he makes the top. You know what I mean? He's that talented with the ball that he can get away with his laissez-faire attitude to the work. I never really watched him at Barcelona, so I don't know how hard he was working there. But everyone's on the Messi shadow there, and it's probably under his shadow again. Messi's penalty.
Those 3 scored 150 goals between them or something. Suarez, Neymar, and Messi that season.
Yeah, dirty. And there's another I guess, Yusuf, another conversation we should have at some stage is about where players peak now, and how I think Salah was said in an interview how Messi, Ronaldo, and a couple of other players have won Ballon d'Or post 30, and how the peak is actually prolonging. It's not pre 30 anymore; it's actually 30 to 33 in sports science and all that impact. So it's interesting to see now that Messi and Ronaldo are hitting 36, 37 eventually, whether Salah can be the best player in the world, win a Ballon d'Or, because he's 29. So for the next 3 years, it's Salah versus Mbappe and Haaland, right? In theory, who are on the other opposite end of that spectrum, 23, 24. But just about, James Milner, 35, 36, absurd. It's interesting to see how it evolves, where the average squad age goes up, moves more towards the Italian style, where it's 31, 32 in their prime as opposed to below 30. But one interesting topic, I think.
I think it would be a good topic for next time, as well as international football with World Cup probably a year away, given that it's in the winter next year, and you guys' opinions on Southgate and stuff like that.
No.
That tells it all.
Side. Who is the oldest player to have won a Ballon d'Or? I actually wonder now.
Oh, it's probably Ronaldo, right? 34.
Cristiano.
It's Cristiano.
He hasn't
How
won
old
for
Lewandowski?
3-4 years, so
Has he not?
Yeah.
He's 36 now, right, Ronaldo? So, how old's Lewandowski? 33.
No, he's older than that, I think, Lewandowski.
Is he?
Yeah. Okay, I googled it. It's a defender. No, this is going to give away because there's only
Cannavaro?
one.
Cannavaro.
Yeah.
How old was he when he won it?
33. So
I think that's the way. How old is Aubameyang? 32.
Yeah, maybe he'll win
Yeah.
this season. Hey, Shahed, who's the most exciting young player at Liverpool?
There's many. I think Curtis Jones is a very
Curtis.
exciting talent.
Yeah.
Very good.
Curtis
But
Jones
even
is good,
Konate is 22. Do you know what I mean? That's still a young
Yeah.
talent. How
I mean,
old is
even
Saka?
Trent. How old is Trent?
Man, exactly. Trent, 21. I think it's 21.
Trent's not 21
one of them.
anymore. Surely not.
I think it's 22. Yeah, I think he just turned 22. It's
I
absurd.
refuse to
Champions League winner, Premier League winner. It's absurd.
believe.
No,
Harvey Elliott as well. He was playing a lot in the start.
God, hardly. Yeah, 17, isn't he? Absurdly good.
He's out for a year or something.
No, he's back in training. So he's back in probably.
No, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
He's running with the ball again. So a couple of months probably after international break. Maybe he'll come in when the AFCON comes back. He'll try and plug that gap. But yeah, we've got a plethora of talent in the squad, man. So exciting
Even
times.
Jota's pretty young, right?
Yeah, I think Jota's 23. That's
That
right.
is really good.
23, 24.
23. Jeez, he's been around.
Yeah,
for a
check
while.
someone can fact check that. Yeah, but he's good as well. That's why I'm talking about. The recruitment's been on point. Like, and even Naby Keita is still only 25. So, if he kicks on, it's another 5 years there. It's just our front line. Mane, Salah, Firmino. They've been doing it. The thing is, you can't even complain. They've been doing it for 5 years, right, together. That's what happens, right? Now they're playing at their peak, but eventually we need to manage that, which I guess is why we got Jota. But hopefully,
He's only
next year
24.
We'll get Haaland.
Yeah.
Is he not? Who's the 24? Jota.
Jota.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, Mbappe and Haaland beside him, and then we're good for the next sort of 5-10 years.
The problem is you're
Nice.
probably gonna have to get a new stadium at some point. And
No, we're expanding.
you know what that
Anfield,
does
right?
to
Sorry.
clubs, because we do.
They've just been
Oh.
making Anfield bigger, I think.
Yeah.
Can you keep doing that forever?
Just gonna
We've
keep
done
building
2
vertically.
stands. Yeah. I think after the Annie Road's built, I think we're going to hit 65,000. It's pretty big.
Okay,
So,
that's enough. Fine.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. It's, as I said, exciting times. I want to see whether we can get an Mbappe or Haaland. I don't know if we can. I don't know what it will come down to, because the thing is, I'm not averse to Salah getting paid 400,000 or 500,000 a week, because he's come here and performed for 5 years, right? But what can upset a dressing room is someone coming in demanding that money without, if the players don't respect that player, it can, disharmony in the dressing room is such an important factor to want to avoid. Look at Sanchez and look at United, case in point. So could Liverpool manage bringing in a huge superstar on big wages and not unsettle everything whilst Klopp is there? I think that's something I would like to see. Yeah, man.
I think Haaland would be the ideal buy.
I can't see Liverpool doing it. I feel like the way that you guys have been doing business, I can't. I imagine that you. Well, do you need to make another big sale before you can make like a? Because that's what you did, right? Like your big signings, you had Van Dijk, like expensive ones, Van Dijk, Alisson, and I guess Fabinho. Fabinho's like 40 mil, so that's about 150 mil. That was all from Coutinho money, right? Like.
Yeah, in theory. I mean, we've won a lot, right, recently, and I don't know where that money goes. That's why you can make lots of criticisms at FSG for not reinvesting. There was a lot of criticism actually about the fact that we'd won everything, and then Fergie was like, "You need to build a wire on top and whatnot." Well, maybe Klopp will go to show this season actually squad harmony. He bangs on about squad harmony all the time. He wants a certain number of players because he doesn't want to add, and then people who he has to make feel included in the group don't get any games, right? Someone else is new. He has to sell the story to keep everyone hungry. Like if you watch Inside Liverpool on YouTube, you see the way the squad trains, man. You see the harmony and that camaraderie, which is so important when you're in a title race, right? Again, that comes down to the excellence of Klopp and how he sort of goes about running things, man. I think it's going to be a big miss. I don't know what's going to happen. I think ideally, Pep Linders will take over when Klopp leaves in 2024. I think he's going to go in 2024. And so let's see if we can manage that transition better, because as we've seen with Wenger, when these big managers, these dynasties sort of fall away, what's left behind often takes many years to rebuild. So that's what I'm hoping for.
How long will it have been for Klopp in 2024 Is it like
about
it's not a
10 years.
decade? Is it? Was it?
Yeah.
was it
Close,
10 years?
When did he come? 2013, 2014 he came. So yeah, close to 10
2014
years.
was wasn't that the
13-14 season.
Suarez?
When Brendan
That
Rodgers.
was Suarez.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Brendan Rodgers. Then
midway the next
2014,
season.
15.
Yeah. So can
When
you
he
imagine?
went-
It's crazy, right? Klopp being in almost
On
10
when-
years.
And
Unprecedented,
on we
man.
grabbed Carragher's leg.
Because is Klopp the longest serving manager in the Premier League now?
He must be. I can't think of anyone else who is.
That's how
Oh,
absurd
nice.
it is, right? Yeah, sure, that maybe. I mean, that's
When
what I'm
did Pep?
talking
When
about,
did
man.
Pep join City?
It's like 14 or 15, right?
The same
later.
season.
Nah, it
Might have
can't
been
have been the
later.
same
I think a
season.
bit later. Yeah.
Yeah, those two, they've done a lot for the Premier League, man. They've raised the bar, so they'll be missed. Again, we can talk about Guardiola and Klopp, even a manager special, that would be interesting. But Guardiola, it was also a genius. I can't deny it. The way in which he builds the team. Yes, he's got the resources to do so, but so have many other managers and failed miserably. He's very good. So it'd be interesting to see where their careers go after Liverpool and City, right? They're still relatively young. Who knows? Arsenal could imagine Guardiola.
I don't think he would.
But it's kind of funny, like Real Madrid on Barca, like, the class of like the past, like, 20 years, probably Champions Leagues and all that, especially in the last 7-8 years of Champions Leagues. But now it's kind of Premier League heavy. Like the best teams are in the Premier League now.
They're talking about the Premier League is the Super League, right? The way in which it's going, especially with the Newcastle takeover. How many
Real
more?
and Barca both have 2 ex-Everton managers at the moment. And they're broke, right? Like they're properly broke.
Yeah.
I can't believe how badly Barcelona managed the books.
Yeah, you could teach a class about that.
Shambles. Yeah. They're teaching classes in Egypt about Mo Salah's career, man, which is exceptional as well.
Really?
Yeah. It's literally a Mo Salah module. That's a level of stardom which we can't really fathom, man. Like how famous he really is. It's famous, and there's like Mo Salah, man. And I heard interviews about how when Liverpool squad's on tour, it's just the Mo Salah show, and he's so humble, right? Like it's excellent to see. Inshallah, God gives him another hat trick or two.
I think Liverpool have the most likable. I think they've got the most likable squad in the league. You can't dislike most players and that kind of thing. There's so many Muslims, man. You can't dislike them.
That's the thing too. Like my brother-in-law, he's a United fan, but he's like, I wouldn't mind Liverpool winning Champions League or like the league if United are failing. Like he's like, I wouldn't mind it just because like they play like beautiful football.
Yeah.
Even better than City, I think. I think City get boring. Like they just keep passing it around and they don't have a really good finisher.
Precise, right?
Yeah.
So I would prefer for Liverpool to win the league over Chelsea, City, or United, because they prove that you can do it by just being run well, not having to throw hundreds of millions at it, right? Like I know United, they spend what they make from commercial revenue, but they spend $1 billion, right? It's ridiculous, right? And that's why I don't want them to win it, because like if Liverpool could do it, it gives Arsenal some hope that their model, if they manage to get the pieces in place right and kind of have a decent process, that maybe it's attainable. Because otherwise, like it's just going to be City and Chelsea forever, and then now Newcastle, and then everyone else just.
Can you imagine Newcastle winning a Champions League before? Can you imagine Newcastle winning a Champions League before Arsenal, man? That's the reality we're living in. In a couple of seasons, I think from what I read, they can freely spend 200 million in January without FIFA fair play being breached because of the fact they've spent hardly anything over the last 3 years. Can you imagine spending 200 million? Coutinho, Dembele, all of these bellends coming in and getting them top 4.
That'd be the ideal situation.
Imagine, man.
Even PSG, like in the beginning, they were signing some weird players.
Yeah. There was San Di Maria, Aubameyang. God, what a shambles! Could happen, man. Who do you reckon big? Go ahead.
It's like the thing is, there's a bit of like Newcastle factor to this. You can pay a player loads of money, but they do still know like the prestige clubs. Like
you say the same about City though, right? Before when they first started out, like who the hell were Man City?
That's
East
true.
Midlands or
I actually
what?
wanted to
West
guys
Midlands
ask you
Blue?
about that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
But they took a while.
Nobody
right?
you guys grew up with was a City fan, right?
Oh yeah.
God, no.
No,
people in
to be fair, I don't know really many
in
now
Manchester. We don't know any. That's why.
I still don't know any.
When City win it, like we don't have to listen to any of our friends like bragging, right? Like that's why it's fine.
Yeah, but when Liverpool win, everyone knows, man. That group is getting around, especially if you're on the receiving end, and especially if you raise an opposing view anytime in the last few months, you're getting around, isn't it?
Look, City took a while to reach where they're at. It took them a good few seasons of buying all of Arsenal's best players every transfer window before they eventually before they won the league, right? Like it wasn't, but then it's right. Like there weren't that many superstars from abroad that they can bring in first, right? They bought Robinho was the only one, and I think maybe he was just trying to like. I think
He thought he signed for Man U or Chelsea. He thought he signed for someone else. He didn't even know it was Man City.
That's the thing, right? So they managed to confuse him, but then the rest of the players that knew the Premier League, right? So, and they were offering big money to guys who were almost out of contract. So, like, they bought Nasri, they bought Adebayo,
Sanya,
they bought
Clichy,
Sanya, Clichy. I mean, they bought a lot of good players from the Premier League. I mean, I guess that's how that was. I think that's what they're going to do, right? They're going to buy a lot of like the better players from the smaller teams. Like
I think we should do that. We should make a prediction of Newcastle's 11 in this time next year and see how close we are.
They're going to go for Origi first. That's what's going to happen.
Of course they are.
We'll do
He
that
scored
on the
a
next one.
scorpion kick today.
Did he?
Check it out. He did, yeah. They showed Giroud side by side. Giroud was much better though. Excellent.
But yeah, thank you guys for joining me. It was a real fun podcast. You guys can subscribe and listen wherever you guys find podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Google Play. Do you guys have anything to plug? Social profiles? You can follow Khalid for Simpsons content.
So follow Sergeant Gaines on PSN. We've got a pro clubs team.
Yeah. We need a cam.
Yeah, we badly need a cam.
who's reprised the LCM role that I vacated?
It's up for grabs, Nabs.
Is it actually up for grabs?
Yeah, you need to get PS5. So do you.
I've been trying to get it. I can't. Like I've been clicking on links, like refreshing like 10 times, and then it just sells out. It's so annoying.
That's crazy, man. We should get some scalpers on this podcast and get their views.
Should I make my 45-minute FC Ramsberg highlights videos public, and then Yusuf can share them on the podcast?
We'll put those in the description.
You have to watch the full 47 minutes of each of the highlights reels.
Let's do this on a monthly basis or something, man. It's your podcast.
Yeah, it's good, Yusuf, man.
Yeah, that would be
good
fun.
to have a.
We need to bring Leon in and then just rip Man United for like
good. Your views are going to go exponentially as soon as Leon enters the frame, man. It's going to be good.
It's like the same thing that made like Arsenal fan TV and the other one's famous.
Yeah, we might have to kick Shahed off though. That was too much like Liverpool, like like dicking them out.
You're gonna edit this down to become like half an hour, Yusuf. Like cut out most of what you said, but cut out all the Liverpool stuff from Shahed.
Yeah, exactly. That was just like for fun.
It becomes the Arsenal podcast with Shahed sitting there.
What an absolute shambles.
We'll make sure we have the pic of you eating like a tub of ice cream.
Was that ice cream? I thought it was like pasta.
Yeah. Yeah, it was ice cream. Sorry, I'm new to this. I wasn't sure what I was allowed to do, but I went with the
picture that I'm gonna use to promote it is gonna be one of you like eating like a whole spoon of ice cream.
Thank you.
I think we need like a disclaimer that was no disrespect meant to the Arsenal women's team. It's just correlation, but the fact that the club has promoted them all.
Yeah, you should just cut that shit out, man. Just cut that out.
When are you gonna put it up, Yusuf?
I'll put it up probably tomorrow, Thursday. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Make sure I give you guys a link.
We can rewatch
you guys can share it with your parents.
Entirety.
Yeah. Share it with my wife and my mom and dad.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cool.